They told me Christmas dinner was canceled because of the storm. I believed them. I sat alone that night, eating cold takeout in my apartment, missing my mother's cooking, missing my father's laugh, missing my sister's voice. I told myself, it's okay. The roads were bad. Nobody's fault. Then, 3 hours later, I opened my phone and saw a photo. My sister, smiling, arms wrapped around my parents, standing in front of our family Christmas tree. The caption read, "Celebrating Christmas with family. No storm. No canceled dinner. Just me," erased from the picture. I stared at that photo for a long time. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. Instead, I typed a simple comment. "Looks wonderful." Within seconds, the photo disappeared. Deleted. Like it was never there. But it was too late. I had already seen it. And what happened next would change my family forever. My name is Major Claire Richardson. I serve my country with everything I have. But that Christmas, I learned that the hardest battles aren't fought overseas. Sometimes, they're fought at your own dinner table. Growing up, I was never the favorite. My younger sister, Emily, was always the golden child. She got the attention, the praise, the easy path. I was the one who worked twice as hard just to be noticed. When I joined the army at 18, my parents said they were proud, but I always felt like it was a quiet kind of pride, the kind you feel for someone you don't quite understand. Over the years, I built a career I was proud of. I earned my rank. I served overseas twice. I missed birthdays, holidays, and weddings because duty called. Every time my family said they understood. Every time I believed them. This year was supposed to be different. I had leave. I had flights booked. I had a bag packed with gifts I picked out myself. One for each person, thought through carefully, wrapped with care. I was excited, really excited, to finally sit at that table again. 2 days before Christmas, my mother called. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "Claire, sweetheart, there's a storm coming. The roads will be dangerous. We think it's best to cancel dinner this year." I asked if we could reschedule. She said maybe after the holidays. I told her I understood, even though something in my chest tightened. I told myself not to overthink it. Family doesn't lie about something like this. I was wrong. That night, I sat in my apartment, alone, scrolling through my phone to distract myself from the quiet. That's when I saw it. My sister's post. My parents. The Christmas tree. Warm lights. Full plates on the table. Laughter frozen in a photo. Celebrating Christmas with family. My stomach dropped. I read the caption 3 times, hoping I misunderstood. I didn't. There was no storm. There was no cancellation. There was only a family dinner that I was never invited to. I thought about calling immediately, demanding an explanation, letting my anger take over. But something stopped me. Years of discipline, years of training taught me one thing. Never react in the heat of the moment. Watch. Wait. Understand the full picture first. So, I did something quiet, something calculated. I left a simple comment. "Looks wonderful." 2 words. No anger. No accusation. Just enough to let them know I had seen it. The photo vanished within seconds. My sister must have panicked. She deleted it immediately, probably hoping I wouldn't notice, or hoping I would just let it go like I always did. But I wasn't going to let it go. Not this time. I didn't call. I didn't text. Instead, I made a decision that surprised even me. I booked a flight for the next morning, arriving right in the middle of their little celebration. I put on my uniform, not for show, but because it reminded me of who I was, someone who doesn't back down from the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. When I knocked on the front door, I could hear laughter inside, familiar laughter, the kind I hadn't heard directed at me in years. My sister opened the door. Her face went pale the moment she saw me standing there in my uniform, suitcase in hand. "Claire," she stammered. "We thought the storm." "There's no storm, Emily," I said calmly. I checked the weather report myself before I left. Clear skies the whole way. Behind her, I saw my parents freeze at the table. The same table with the same lights from the photo. My father's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. My mother's smile faded into something like shame. Nobody said a word for a long moment. The silence was heavier than any storm could ever be. I stepped inside, set my suitcase down, and looked around the room. Everything from the photo was there, exactly as it appeared. The tree, the food, the lights, all real, all set up for a celebration I wasn't supposed to know about. Why? I asked simply, not shouting, not crying, just asking. My sister broke first. She admitted that she had planned this dinner weeks in advance, telling our parents it would be less complicated without me there. She said my schedule was always unpredictable, that I might cancel last minute anyway, that it was easier to just not include me this time. Easier for who, I wanted to ask. But I stayed quiet and let her keep talking. My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. She said they didn't want to hurt me, that they thought a quiet lie would be kinder than a difficult truth. My father said nothing at all. He just stared at his plate, unable to meet my eyes. I felt something inside me shift, not sadness this time, but clarity. For years, I had made excuses for them, told myself they loved me in their own way, that distance and duty were the reasons I always felt left out. But now I understood. It was never about distance. It was a choice. They chose comfort over honesty. They chose to leave me out rather than deal with me. I could have yelled. I could have stormed out and slammed the door behind me, disappearing from their lives the way they had tried to erase me from that photo.
Part of me wanted to.
But instead, I sat down at the table, uninvited seat and all. I looked at each of them, one by one. I've spent my whole life trying to prove I belong in this family, I said. I missed birthdays defending this country. I missed weddings standing guard so other families could sleep peacefully at night. And the one time I finally had leave to come home, you decided it was easier to celebrate without me. Nobody argued. Nobody denied it. The truth sat heavy in the room, impossible to hide from anymore. I'm not here to punish you, I continued. I'm here because I deserve honesty. If you don't want me at your table, tell me. Don't lie to my face and then act surprised when I find out. My sister started crying. My mother reached for my hand, but I gently pulled it back. Not out of anger, but because I needed a moment to process everything without comfort clouding my judgment. Here's the thing about revenge. Sometimes it isn't about shouting matches or dramatic exits. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge is simply refusing to disappear quietly. I didn't storm out. I didn't cut them off completely, though a part of me considered it. Instead, I did something they didn't expect. I stayed. I ate dinner at that table, uninvited seat and all, and I made sure every single person there understood exactly what they had done. I told stories about my service, about the sacrifices I made, about the holidays I spent standing guard so families like mine could celebrate safely. I watched their faces shift from guilt to shame to something close to regret. Then I made one final decision. When dinner ended, I stood up, thanked them for the meal, and told them I was staying at a hotel instead of my childhood bedroom. Not out of anger, but because I needed space to think, to decide what kind of relationship I wanted moving forward, if any. My sister followed me to the door, begging me to reconsider, promising it would never happen again. I told her actions speak louder than promises, and for once, I meant it completely. The weeks that followed were quiet. I didn't cut my family off entirely, but I also didn't rush back into old patterns. I set boundaries I should have set years ago. I stopped making excuses for their behavior. I stopped shrinking myself just to keep the peace. Slowly, something shifted. My sister reached out, not with empty apologies, but with real effort, checking in regularly, including me in plans without being asked, showing up in ways she never had before. My parents did the same, small gestures at first, then bigger ones, proving through actions instead of words that they understood what they had done wrong. I won't pretend everything healed overnight. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But for the first time in years, I felt like my family was finally seeing me, not the soldier who was always missing, not the daughter who was always understanding, but the person who deserved honesty and respect just like everyone else at that table. Looking back, I don't regret what happened that Christmas. In a strange way, I'm grateful for it. It forced a conversation my family had been avoiding for years. It showed me that love without honesty isn't really love at all. It's just comfortable avoidance. If you're watching this and you've ever felt erased, overlooked, or lied to by the people who are supposed to love you the most. Remember this. Silence doesn't protect relationships. Honesty does. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't walking away in anger. It's staying, speaking your truth, and giving people the chance to finally see you clearly. Because real family isn't about perfect holidays or perfect photos. It's about showing up for each other, especially when it's hard, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when honesty costs more than comfort. That Christmas taught me that respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you demand through the way you carry yourself, and through the boundaries you're finally brave enough to set.